So today, we're going to talk to you about Vision 2030. As you know, we are really strong into working our projects in a decade. And I have one of my favorite sayings from Tony Robbins, is that we overestimate what we can do in a year, underestimate what we can do in a decade, and we have no clue what we can do in a lifetime. That last line I put in myself, because I've learned that to be true. So as you know, we've, over the years, created projects, and usually they take about a decade to mature. We see things that are about a decade into the future. And so this time, we want to really talk to you about our next project. Today, we have to continue to create our culture. We have to create a permanence in our culture in a way we haven't done before. As you know, we were strong in the 90s in magazines. And we created communication so that people could learn about our faith. And we practiced media. And we even made sure that we did media well in the 90s so that we can be in the mainstream media. In the 2000s, we went out and created a school, a very powerful school that would help people become, no matter what walk of life they were, no matter what they wanted to do, no matter who they were able to get an education from anywhere in the world with us. And in that process, we gave it to them in any form we can give it to in video, which gave birth to Magic TV. In the 2010s, we began to expand that and give a platform not just to our own school, but to our community through Paganism Radio, Magic TV, Facebook, Twitter, and the social media. So we made sure that we were integrated into the social media. So we've seen another shift happening. And that shift is we need to take much more control of our data. 10 years ago, you wouldn't even talk about controlling your data, but now we know we have to take control of our data, control of our archives, and create permanent cultural structures out there to do so. And at the same time, we need to go ahead and become a full-fledged broadcaster of shows. We need to create not just informational material, but entertainment and every type of show you can imagine. And that's kind of where we are now. We see that this is a really important aspect. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't complain about how other people portray you if you're not also portraying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to be seen as you are, you must take control of your own image. And you must get it out there for people to see. Otherwise, people will portray you however they want.
And you've been very much involved as a community pioneer from the Wheel of Hecate.
Well, earlier than that, but yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely earlier. But your biggest endeavor personally.
Yes. Yeah.
That you would go ahead and go beyond just working with other people's systems into the Tarot of Hecate, or the Wheel of Hecate.
Yes, the Wheel of Hecate magazine.
Wheel of Hecate magazine, and then you did Psychic Chicago magazine, Roundtable magazine.
Yeah.
And then we went into doing the Daily Spell.
Yeah.
And then writing classes for Witch School, which would eventually get us 6 books published, right?
Yeah. At least.
No, yeah, 6 personal books published out of that. You would get that published out there, so we met that. Then we would go into, then you did Magic TV, and to this day you did daily vlogs. You still do daily vlogs that answer people's direct questions.
I still do. I don't do them necessarily daily at this point, but I still do them.
You didn't have.
I plan to resume them on a daily basis, but while we've been working on the school rebuild, it's been a little much.
Absolutely. But in this process that you saw then, so very early on, you saw the need to communicate.
I've always been focused on communication.
And surprisingly, I feel like I've been really involved with the distribution and the construction of infrastructure.
Yeah.
I've always felt that I'm much more of an architect than I am than the actual. So I feel like I build cyber houses and internet houses and these communication houses that other people can live in.
Yeah.
And that brought us to Paganism Radio, which was a very proud thing. Magic TV continues today as one of the oldest and one of the more powerful accounts because we can do a lot of things. I find a lot of other accounts.
That's true. We can do things on Magic TV at YouTube that other YouTube channels cannot do because we have been there so long and have been grandmothered into a lot of things.
We were there before YouTube was really taken off. We were there within 6 months of them actually forming. So we've seen this over and over again. We did, and Blog Talk Radio. We've done that. Was able to the voices of the pagan world, and we had great station managers. We had great shows. We give them that, and so we have these sort of presentations. So today we have to go a step further. We need to create permanence. And so what do I mean by permanence? Well, And that means we are now focusing ourselves on helping establish real-time temples. You're right. Mm-hmm. Physical spaces. We see that our community, in order to preserve itself, in order to really live a free religious life, to have a personal life, we need to now go ahead and move into building temples, building organizations that support temples, campgrounds, community centers, sort of a permanent things, and at the same time archive and control data and support the community in general.
Well, one of the things that our community often experiences is a kind of generational disconnect. Mm-hmm. It seems like every generation has a very limited idea of what the previous generation did because there's so little communication between them. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons for that is that so much of that information is just lost. You mentioned Victoria Carlson earlier. Mm-hmm. One of the things that she most regretted, there had been a photographer in the Chicago community who had, through the 80s, I think even into the 70s, had gone to all the different events and photographed everything, and the way she put it, he photographed all the high priestesses in their finery. Mm-hmm. And then one day he disappeared, presumably died, and all of those photos were gone.
Absolutely.
No way to pass that on to the next generation.
Probably the most heartbreaking one for me is the Temple of Sacred Stones. Mm-hmm. A beautiful temple, beautiful books of shadows.
Beautiful artwork collection.
Beautiful artwork collection. When Reverend Donna, High Priestess Donna, Lady Morta passed away, it got broken up, and today we couldn't tell you where it is. No. We see this over and over again. So we attempted in the early 2000s to build a museum, realizing that we were, again, projecting ideas. But what we now know is that we have to support these types of structures. Mm-hmm. Libraries, places to hold books, museum-like structures, temple-like structures, living structures for our members. We've seen so many members pass into old age and suffer miserably. Mm-hmm. Because they had no place to go. So this is our commitment tonight, today, this new year, this 2020s, which is going to be an amazing time, is that it's going to take us 10 years. We know that.
It's not an overnight thing.
We have a lot of structure for it. Now, one reason why we can do this is that we've already shown continuity. If you look at some of the things we're going to talk about, we have shown in your case, from the 80s, my case from the 90s, we're able to build continuity. Things that we build really last. We save the documents. We have libraries. We have all of it. And now we're moving, and for our Correllian tradition, is to create a Correllian spaces. We already do have Correllian temples, and we want to make sure that they continue to exist, such as Sacred Sea Temple in Atlanta, Chosen Path Temple in Jacksonville. These are actually dedicated structures. Mm-hmm. And we want to see them become more dedicated. So the land that they are on is permanently theirs. We see great people like Wisteria and Gaia's Retreat and Circle Sanctuary having those spaces for camping and for tent. We want to see more of that. So we are going to help other groups, just as we've helped everyone with their broadcasting of radio and Magic TV and all of this. We want to help everybody kind of structure their future. This is going to be tough. This is probably the toughest challenge we've taken on.
But very important.
And in that process, so I'm dedicating myself, and Don's dedicated himself to back me up, is I'm going to take a year on the road. This first project, and everybody goes, what do you mean by that? I get back to what we do best. We communicate, and now we need to communicate culture. And we, in the 2000s, saw a lot of people wanting to build reality shows and kind of that, but they never liked the way we looked. We did so many pilots, so many sizzle reels. We did so many of those, and they never really liked the way we looked because
we just weren't oogie boogie enough.
No. They would go after the ghost hunters and things of that nature.
Yeah, we've never been the oogie boogie people.
So, in order to do so, I am now going to create a reality show this year out of this sort of thing, this sort of reality documentary, because we've never had more opportunity. Netflix, Hulu, Gaia, even if we broadcast ourselves, we are going to build this television station. And at the same time, we're going to take the same presence we have. We've seen a lot of changes. Facebook Live, Facebook Watch, Twitter. We see VNMO, we see a lot of this. TikTok, one of the things we're getting involved with, the new platforms. We see the platforms are about to change. And in that process of changing, we're going to become a very strong broadcaster on a daily basis of more content so that we can control our message. I think that's a very important message for people. And through this control of these messages, by giving people the entertainment, giving people the ability to find each other, because one of the things I think the problem in the community is that we're still not communicated well enough inside. Lots of people can help. Lots of people want to help. I mean, there's all sorts of projects out there, proposed credit unions. There's people who want to buy land projects. There's people who want to do so much, but they're not communicating well enough. They're not able to. Well, we're in a unique position to continue that process. And so one last thought, so Don, one of the things is that you have always, and if you've ever seen his pictures, look, you've always wanted a temple. You've got designs and patterns for temples.
Yes. I feel that, although obviously not as an initial phase, but eventually I feel like we need to have not just our own physical spaces, but spaces that are recognizably sacred. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily a single form of architecture identified with us, but architecture that is sacred in character and different from what you might see elsewhere. I think that if you look at any other religion, you will see this. And I think that it is important for our future to have an eye to this. What form that will ultimately take, of course, depends on people. But I have often designed over the years images of sacred spaces with that in mind, that they would put you in that frame of mind, that they would take you to a spiritual state of being by their nature. And I would hope that as we find these spaces, that with the passage of time, they would transcend the prosaic and be a visual manifestation of the things that we believe and the things that we do, not just a place to do them.
And not only that, so we have years of these images being created, and we're going to build them physically. And if you have not known our record, we set out and create things. But one of the biggest exchanges that is about to happen is that we're going to see a virtualized world. So we are able to build these spaces not just in the physical, but in virtual reality, where you and I and all of us can go out and through our astral projection onto the internet world is going to be able to see these images as well. So these will be there. We're going to use these spaces to create archives. We're going to save our history. We may hear about a lot of things that are going to happen over the next 10 years, but we're going to create spaces that are sacred to us. They're going to hold our history. They're going to hold our space. They're going to hold our faith. They're going to hold our entertainment. They're going to hold our nature. And they're going to be what our descendants, as we are now the ancestors of the next generations. And we're going to make sure that we convey more than ever before. And this is a Project 2030. Lawyers, builders, construction people, all of it. We're going to create both the legal structures necessary to make this happen. We're going to create the motivational structures to make this happen. And most importantly, we're going to create the communication to allow everybody to benefit, not just our own tradition. And I think this is a very powerful aspect of it. So our last thought here is that I believe is that do you want to join us? I know the tradition, Correllian tradition, is very much into this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so if you don't think it's possible, just remember this. You do overestimate what you do in a decade. You do overestimate what you can do in a year. Simply put, this year, all I'm going to focus on is creating that first reality show, that first set of things, just like I created a year of podcasting, just like we created a year of Magic TV. And we struggled with it. And I'm going to struggle with this, and you can help me with that by helping travel. And we underestimate what we can do in a decade. More hundreds of hours of video. Literally thousands of hours of videos, thousands of hours of radio. So right today you can say, oh, that's just not true. But if you know what we can do, I think you understand this better. So we're going to struggle this year in 2020 to get this vision down, but we're going to take and make sure that we're representing the media properly, and through that representation in the media, we're going to help put people together so that they can build their projects and we can support them in any way they can. And most importantly, I think while I'm out being Ed, I think Lord Don here, I think one of the most important things that he does is that he has a very important role to play in all of this. And that is that he will continue to work with leaders across the board. And you have. I mean,
absolutely.
So I want them to leave with one last thought. One really important thought. So people don't know one of my life missions was to get the Parliament of World Religions to recognize us as a global faith.
Mm-hmm.
In 1993, we were ostracized, we were barely recognized, and then that would happen. But in 2009, you went to the Parliament of World Religions.
Mm-hmm.
I was so proud to have you there, and it was the year that we saw no Wicca.
Mm-hmm.
No Wicca whatsoever. So we did not see Wicca. Paganism was there. Paganism was an indigenous faith. And that really kind of cut. It really cut deep.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2018, which is an important part of our decade-long century, Don proposed, and we helped, a lot of people helped out. Can you talk about that aspect of presenting the global, Wicca as a global faith of the Parliament of World Religions?
Well, it was involved with the Global Wicca Summit, which was an official pre-Parliament event, which was broadcast through Pagans Tonight Radio, through Magic TV, and through a variety of other platforms. And at the Parliament, we had a panel talking about the things that we observed and experienced through that process of having the Global Wicca Summit. It was myself, Belladonna Laveau, Stephanie Leon Neal, Dusty Dion, and of course Selena Fox. And we had a wonderful presentation to a packed room, and very well received, and basically on the idea of Wicca as a global religion.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt very good about it.
So
and you can see it on Magic TV.
And we recorded it, and the summit's still available too on the
Yes.
Daily Spell. So understand, we're not just talking fantasies here. Dream well.
And this underscores what we're actually talking about. You don't have to take our word for the fact that there was a Global Wicca Summit. It's all preserved there to see. You don't have to take our word that this was presented at the Parliament. It's there to be seen. You don't have to take our word about the Fellowship of Isis conventions in Chicago. They're there on Magic TV. The St. Louis Pagan Picnic, it's there on Magic TV.
The inaugural sweeping of Obama presidency.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was kind of one of those national events.
It's the only thing of its kind that I'm aware of having happened. You can see it on Magic TV. It's still there. Regardless of your political opinions, as an event, it is history.
And so now we're telling you that we need to do this even better.
Mm-hmm.
Our cultural transmission needs to be more permanent. So not just are we're asking it for our tradition, but we're asking you to join us to preserve and protect your tradition. Let us help you in this creation. And with that, I thank you for listening to us. Vision 2030, the transmission of culture, the permanence of our community is very important.
Absolutely.
And so join us for Vision 2030, our next big